Hi there and welcome. My name is Fee Rai. It's great to be back with you on another of our monthly wellness webinars. And today our title is Mind Matters. We are going to look at cognitive function and brain health, what nutrients are required and why. And we're going to delve into two of our Juice Plus products today and how they support cognitive health based on some great research. So let's jump in. So let's start with the pressure of daily demands on our life. There is a lot going on and I'm leaning towards stress levels here, and I'm going to explain a little bit about how the modern mind under the pressure affects our cognitive behaviour. So 59% of Australians are experiencing major stresses annually, and that's according to the ABS, Australian Bureau of Statistics, from 2022. Now, the WHO, as you can see, defines stress as the state of worry or mental tensions caused by a difficult situation. And if you think of our day-to-day life, we know that we have mental tension and difficult situations to tackle on a daily basis. And stress is a global health epidemic, and it affects sleep, immunity, and heart health. But chronic stress also contributes to allostatic load, which is the persistent activation of the neuroendocrine system. Now, this causes high blood pressure, vascular tissue damage, impaired brain flow, and cognitive dysfunction, along with a depressed mood. So stress is damaging blood vessels, organs, and the brain structure. So cognitive effects would be poor concentration, reduced memory, impaired executive function. So stress actually shrinks our capacity to think clearly. And that's a really important thing to note, because chronic stress actually alters brain regions, the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex. Now, elevated cortisol from the stress, which means we are in our sympathetic nervous system, in that fight or flight response, and those elevated cortisol levels disrupt our decision making and our learning. So sleep deprivation, which is also coming from stress, plus the emotional stress, which we carry throughout our body. Sometimes we feel it in the gut, sometimes we feel it in our muscles. But sleep plus emotional stress equals a higher cognitive fatigue. We're tired. Our brains just cannot function. And that neuroinflammation, so inflammation of the neurons, and oxidative stress that we're getting from being in that sympathetic nervous system actually accelerates cognitive aging. So that's not a very pleasant place to be. And I want you to think too, not just of the adults in your life who are going through this stress, but what about the kids and the teens who are feeling that emotional stress? They may be sleep deprived, and so again, that's disrupting their decision making and their learning. So it's something to keep in mind when you're thinking of our youth. So how does diet affect mood and cognition? Well, poor diet is both a symptom and a contributor to mental stress. Diets high in ultra-processed foods reduce the BDNF and impair mood and cognition. Now, BDNF stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and it's a protein that plays a key role in promoting neuronal growth and survival, so keeping our neurons firing and wiring. Enhancing synaptic plasticity and the brain's ability to adapt and learn, and also supporting memory formation, learning, and mood regulation. So when BDNF levels are low, studies have linked this to cognitive decline, depression and anxiety, and neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. Stress, poor diet, and sedentary behavior can reduce BDNF levels. In contrast, exercise, sleep, and diets rich in polyphenols, which are plants, berries, and our leafy greens, fruits and vegetables, can boost BDNF. So a BDNF anti-inflammatory diet would be berries, our greens, fish, spices, and this all enhance neuroplasticity. Plant-rich diets reduce burnout and improve cognitive resilience. So plant-based diets are actually very well researched for their health benefits. If you think of Mediterranean diets and also the Blue Zone studies too, where octogenarians, so people 100 years and over, prosper and flourish through diet, clean diets, movement, connection, and keeping mentally active. So let's take a look at some specific vitamins that occur naturally in our fruits and vegetables and that have an impact on cognitive health. Okay, we are digging into our vitamins, and of course we want to get as many of our vitamins as we can from our foods. However, sometimes we need to supplement with vitamins, and that's quite common. So let's have a look at the most important vitamins when it comes to cognitive function and mental clarity. So vitamin A, which includes beta carotene, regulates our gene expression, but it also supports neuroplasticity and vision. And when we don't get enough of it, we have memory issues and we have impaired learning. And that's really important in little brains that are developing. So we want to make sure our youth are getting enough vitamin A in their diet. Now the Bs. B6, 9 and 12 are crucial for producing neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. And they support the nervous system, reducing the feelings of fatigue and also contributing to normal psychological function. But when you are not getting enough of it, it certainly does cause some issues in our bodies. And there are certain people that probably need more of it than others, people with busy lifestyles, high stress, poor diets. And also it's important to note that certain medications can actually deplete B vitamin levels. So that's something to check. If you or a loved one is on medication, check whether that is a medication that will deplete their vitamin B levels, because people with a higher mental workload, athletes, older adults, we want them to make sure that we are getting enough vitamin B into our bodies when we are part of those populations. Now vitamin C, we always think of vitamin C and immunity and oranges and winter, but it's there for antioxidant protection too, and importantly, collagen synthesis for brain tissue. So to keep our brain tissue healthy, we need to make sure we're getting adequate vitamin C. It's also a cofactor for those neurotransmitter production, which includes dopamine. And when we don't get enough of it, apart from having an immune system that's not feeling great, we also experience fatigue, low mood, and poor memory. So again, think of your older populations that we need to make sure they're getting enough C. Now D, we usually associate vitamin D with the sunshine, and not everyone is getting equal sunshine, whether you live in a southern state, a colder area, or perhaps again our older population who are maybe not out in the sunshine as much as they used to be. Vitamin D regulates the neurotrophic factors like that BDNF that I spoke about earlier. It supports memory and immune signaling in the brain. And when we don't get enough of it, we have cognitive decline, depression, and reduced executive function, so ability to make decisions. So when you think about who that is in our society, we often relate cognitive decline, depression, and reduced executive function with our older pops. So vitamin D is essential. And vitamin E protects cell membranes from oxidative stress and supports neuronal integrity, so keeping our neurons firing and wiring. Vitamin E is very important, and a deficiency will show up in impaired memory, increased neurodegeneration risk. And so at the end of the day, a diet rich in plants and vitamins will assist our cognitive health. And I'd like to call it a no-brainer. However, now that we've learned a little bit more about the importance of these in our daily intake, but some days we just need some backup and support, and so supplementation can be paramount. So let's take a look at how the Juice Plus products can support in this area. Now, at the Juice Plus community, we always say that our products are designed to bridge that gap between, what you are eating and what you should be. It is definitely not a take this and don't bother eating fruits and vegetables. It's part of a regime that supports your intake of micronutrients from plants. Now, I'm going to talk into a particular study from 2021, a Spanish study, Carrillo et al., that looked at our fruit, veg, and berry and how it affected cognitive health. So it was a randomized, placebo-controlled clinical trial. So that means that the participants were given either the product or they were given a placebo. And it also meant that the researchers didn't know who was on what. They did a washout, which meant they stayed on the product for some time. They had a time off, and then they swapped the groups around, which is always the best kind, because I love these sorts of studies. It really does give a really good insight. So what they found was that Juice Plus fruit, veg, and berries showed significant improvements for the cohort that were taking them. So remember, both cohorts eventually took them, and they compared the results of different tests. And this was the Stroop and the Tenzin test. So they are tests for executive function, so how quickly they can make decisions. Short-term memory test, which is the wrist, and they found that they had people on the Juice Plus fruit, veg, and berry had sustained attention and processing speed. And those benefits are linked to polyphenols, including what we call flavonols. Curcumin is one of those. You might have heard curcumin. That has had a lot of publicity in the supplement world. But it is a flavanol, it is a polyphenol, and you can find it in Juice Plus. And also things like anthocyanins, they have been, and carotenoids. These are also buzzwords at the moment in the wellness area, but they are found in berries and leafy greens and carrots and citrus. So these active via a mechanism including increasing cerebral blood flow and reducing oxidative stress and inflammation. And it also modulates the nitric oxide pathways and that BDNF expression for synaptic plasticity, which means it's helping the synapse process to be quick and firing really, really, really quickly. So that was all based on the Spanish study. And one of the quotes from the study was that polyphenols modulate cerebral blood flow, so cerebral being the brain, including changes in memory processing and synaptic plasticity related to variations in the nitric oxide levels. So basically, nitric oxide pathways are part of how nutrition affects brain oxygenation and mood and mental clarity. So that was an amazing study that was done in 2021. So let's have a look at one of our other products that's linked to focus. Now, Luminate is the new kid on the block in 2025 for the Juice Plus company, and it has targeted botanicals for mental clarity and energy. Now, the key ingredients and mechanisms are galangal extract, which is shown to support alertness and reduce fatigue, lion's mane, which may help to stimulate the nerve growth factor and improve memory and neuroplasticity. Rhodiola rosea is a botanical that helps reduce mental fatigue and improves concentration under stress. And sage essential oil is also there to improve memory recall and alertness. And of course, then we've got natural B vitamins, the B1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 12, which, as we learnt earlier, B vitamins are essential for neurotransmitter synthesis, energy metabolism, and cognitive resilience. We've also got caffeine from green coffee bean in Luminate, and it enhances the working memory and also reaction time. So we are very excited to have this product, because when you bring all of these botanicals together, working in a synergistic way, it really does help to bring forward the focus and energy that we want for our brain. So if we think of fruit, veg and berry blend as baseline support, the antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, neurovascular side that we learnt from the study, and luminate as a boost, as a botanical that works with the neurons and is energizing. And together they both provide a foundational and functional support for daily mental performance. So what are the takeaways here? Of course, these products are never magic pills, but they are evidence-based tools for improving mental focus in the real world. And the benefits may be most noticeable during study or exam periods, work deadlines, high-pressure projects, recovery from burnout or fatigue. But when you encourage consistent use in using these products and hydrating well and sleeping well, it works alongside stress management. So with that all said, in relation to supplementation, we are at the end of our presentation. I'm going to pop up the next slide, which is some of the links to the research. If you're interested in that, you can always pause it and copy that. And I hope you have enjoyed this presentation on mental health, cognitive function, and why our mind matters, and how food and vitamins and minerals make such an essential part of our daily mental function. Thanks for joining me.